once upon a time, in a meadow where the sky stretched wide, and the sun's SQL command set painted the horizon with brush strokes of rose and amber. There lived a butterfly named Celeste. Her wings were the softest shade of lavender, edged with delicate golden light, and when she fluttered, her wings whispered like a gentle lullaby. Celeste was no ordinary butterfly. She had a special gift. As the sun began to dip below the hills, she would spread her calming presence across the meadow, helping her friends unwind and prepare for a peaceful night's sleep. The meadow was a place where time moved slowly, where flowers bloomed in every color of the rainbow, and where the scent of honeysuckle and chamomile filled the air. At sunset, the tall grasses swayed gently in the breeze, their tips glowing golden in the fading light. Crickets hummed softly in the distance, their rhythmic song blending with the rustling of leaves as the day surrendered to the night. Celeste lived in a cozy little nook beneath a patch of sunflowers, where the petals smelled sweetly of honey, and the warmth of the day lingered long after the sun had gone. Her home was lined with soft, silky spiderwebs that shimmered like silver threads in the twilight. Every evening, as the first stars began to twinkle in the sky, Celeste would emerge from her nest, stretch her delicate wings, and set off on her journey to spread her calming magic. She fluttered first over the meadow's grassy fields, where the blades sparkled with dew, and the air was filled with the scent of fresh earth. With every beat of her wings, a soft lavender hue seemed to trail behind her, like a mist of calm. The flowers tilted their heads to greet her, their petals unfolding like tiny stars as she passed. The rabbits, who were usually busy nibbling on clover, paused to watch her glide by, their twitching noses slowing as they let out contented sighs. Even the fireflies, who loved to dance in the evening light, dimmed their glow a little, as if they too were feeling sleepy. As the moon began to rise, casting a silver glow over the meadow, Celeste made her way to the edge of a quiet pond. The water mirrored the sky, reflecting the first few stars like tiny lanterns. She landed on a smooth rock near the edge, her wings fluttering slowly as she gazed out at the water. The frogs along the pond's edge stopped croaking, their deep voices softening into a gentle hum. A deer with large, sleepy eyes stepped closer to the water's edge, its fur glistening in the moonlight. Celeste closed her wings for a moment, took a deep breath, and began to hum a soft, melodic tune. The sound carried over the meadow like a warm breeze, wrapping everything in its path in a cozy embrace. It was a lullaby her mother had sung to her when she was just a caterpillar, and now she shared it with the entire meadow. As the last note of her song faded, she spread her wings once more and lifted into the air, her lavender light glowing softly in the growing warm as a blanket and as safe as a whisper, Celeste fluttered over the pond's edge, her wings shimmering in the moonlight as she followed a faint sparkle she noticed at the water's edge. The ripples of the pond rippling gently, it seemed to lead her toward a cluster of tall reeds swaying in unison with her flight. Beyond the reeds, hidden from the open meadow, lay a small, secret glade, a place that few knew existed. The air there was filled with the scent of night-blooming flowers, their petals a soft, velvety purple that matched the color of Celeste's wings. As she landed on one of the flowers, a faint hum of quiet magic greeted her. The ground beneath her was soft and spongy, covered in a moss that glowed faintly in the dark. It was a place where time seemed to slow even more than in the rest of the meadow, where every sound was muted and every movement unhurried. In the center of the glade stood an ancient tree, its branches bare, but for a few leaves that shimmered like starlight. From the base of the tree came a quiet, rhythmic sound, like the soft tapping of a tiny drum. Celeste's curiosity carried her closer. As she neared the tree, she saw that the tapping was coming from a tiny creature, no bigger than a pebble. It was a snail, its shell glowing with a soft, pearlescent light, and it was tapping its foot against a small, round stone. The snail looked up as Celeste approached, its glassy eyes shining with quiet contentment. "Hello, sleep bringer," the snail said in a voice as slow and soothing as honey pouring into a bowl. Its words were like a lullaby, and Celeste felt her wings growing heavier, her thoughts slower as she listened. "Who are you?" she asked quietly, settling on a nearby toadstool covered in a soft layer of moss. "I am the guardian of rest," replied the snail, its voice like a sigh. "I keep the heartbeat of the meadow steady as it drifts into sleep. But I have been waiting for you, Celeste. You bring a special quiet with you, one that I think the dreamers would love to hear." Tilted her head curiously, the dreamers. The snail nodded, its shell glimmering faintly. "They are the keepers of the meadow's sweetest slumber. They weave the quiet moments into vivid, peaceful dreams. Would you like to meet them?" Celeste agreed, and the snail slid slowly away from the tree, leaving a trail of shimmering slime in its wake that lit the path. She followed it through the glade, her wings fluttering softly. As they moved, the air grew heavier, the shadows deepening into a soft, velvety darkness that felt like a warm hug. The ground beneath her grew softer, and the glowing moss thickened, creating a carpet of light that illuminated their way. They reached a small clearing within the glade, where the air was filled with the faint scent of vanilla and lavender. Floating in the center of the clearing were delicate, glowing orbs, each one pulsing with a soft, rhythmic light that seemed to match the beat of Celeste's heart. The orbs drifted lazily, their surfaces rippling like water as they moved. One by one, they began to glow brighter, as if welcoming her presence. "These are the dreamers," the snail said. "Each one carries a different kind of sleep, deep, light, or filled with joyful memories. They are the ones who turn your quiet moments into the softest of adventures." Stretched her wings, feeling a deep connection to the orbs. She reached out with her antennae, and as she did, a memory of her own childhood returned, a memory of curling up in her cocoon, surrounded by the warmth of the earth and the quiet of the meadow. At night, the dreamers began to glow more softly in response, their light intertwining with her own lavender hue. The snail nodded. "Yes, you understand them," it said. "Would you like to share your song with them?" Celeste hesitated for a moment, then spread her wings and began to hum. The sound of her lullaby touched the orbs, and they began to swirl around her, their lights blending into a dance that seemed to fill the entire glade. The moss beneath her glowed brighter, and the air felt even heavier, as though the very world were leaning in to listen. As her song grew softer, the orbs began to settle, floating gently to the ground. One by one, they dissolved into the glowing moss, their light spreading outward until the entire glade was bathed in their soft radiance. The snail smiled. "Thank you, Celeste. You have given them a beautiful gift, a song that will fill the sleep of every creature in the meadow with peace." Felt a warmth in her heart, as though she had shared a piece of herself with the meadow. She looked up at the sky, where the stars were now shining brightly, their light filtering through the leaves above. The world felt quieter now, as though it were holding its breath in anticipation of sleep. The snail, sensing her thoughts, nodded its head. "Your work here is done, sleep bringer. The meadow is ready to rest, but the dreamers will remember your song, and they will carry it with them until the next time you come to visit." With that, Celeste spread her wings once more and lifted into the air. The glade grew smaller and smaller as she flew above it, the glowing moss and the tree with starlight leaves disappearing into the shadows. She carried the memory of the dreamers and the guardian of rest with her as she returned to her quiet journey across the meadow. The moon was high now, casting a silver glow over the fields and ponds. The rabbits were nestled in their burrows, their noses twitching with contentment. The frogs had fallen silent, their deep voices replaced by the occasional hoot of an owl in the distance. softer. She felt the world around her holding its breath, ready to fall into a deep, peaceful sleep. As she descended toward her home, she noticed that the spider webs were glowing more than usual, their silvery threads catching the moonlight and twinkling like tiny stars. She landed gently on one of them, and the web cradled her wings as though it had been waiting just for her. The meadow sighed softly, its breath a whisper of contentment, and Celeste closed her wings, letting the quiet wash over her just as she was about to drift off. A tiny firefly landed on the edge of the web. Its glow dimmed to a soft flicker. "Thank you, Celeste," it said in a voice like a whisper. "The meadow is at peace tonight," smiled, her eyes growing heavy. "Sleep well, little one. May your dreams be sweet." And with that, the firefly flew off, its flickering light fading into the distance. The meadow grew darker, the world becoming softer and more still. Celeste's wings fluttered once, twice, and then they too fell quiet. The moonlight bathed her in its gentle glow, and the stars twinkled in agreement as she drifted into a well-deserved rest. The meadow was still now, a vast and quiet blanket of peace under the watchful eyes of the stars. But deep within the heart of the meadow, where the sunflowers bloomed tall and the spider webs shimmered like silver, there was a little nook where a lavender butterfly named Celeste lay sleeping, her wings softly glowing in the night. And as she slept, the meadow slept with her, wrapped in the quiet magic she had shared with the world. The moonlight filtered through the leaves above, casting a gentle glow over Celeste's cozy nook beneath the sunflowers. She settled into the soft, silky spider webs, her lavender wings folding quietly against her back. The air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the faintest hint of chamomile. A soothing lullaby carried on the breeze. The meadow around her was a sea of silence, each creature nestled into their own peaceful slumber. The tall grasses swayed gently, their golden tips shimmering faintly in the dim light. Far away, a distant hoot of an owl echoed through the night. But even that sound was muffled, as though the world itself was wrapping everything in a soft blanket. Celeste closed her eyes, her heart beating slowly, her thoughts drifting like the stars twinkling above. She could feel the warmth of the sun still lingering in the earth beneath her, a comforting reminder of the day's joy. The spider webs around her glistened in the moonlight, like a canopy of tiny stars guarding her sleep. As the night deepened, the world seemed to slow even further. The breeze whispered through the meadow, rustling the leaves in a lulling rhythm that matched the quiet rise and fall of Celeste's wings. Even the stars seemed to twinkle in time with her breath, as though they too were sharing in the peace of the moment. Sleep crept over her gently, like a soft wave rolling onto a quiet shore. Her wings, once so full of life and movement, grew still, their lavender hue glowing faintly in the dim light. The meadow held its breath, its creatures resting deeply, their minds filled with the calm that Celeste had brought to them. And so, beneath the watchful gaze of the moon and the twinkling stars, Celeste drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. The meadow was quiet, wrapped in the soft, warm embrace of the night. And in that stillness, everything felt safe